Good evening. I'm Randy Price. On behalf of Home Base, a Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital program focused on healing the invisible wounds of war for post-9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. This Veterans Day, we're going to be bringing you stories from former Home Base patients, men and women from Massachusetts and from New Hampshire, all across the country who have fought to keep us safe here at home. These folks are bravely sharing their story in hopes of helping others find their way to care. At Home Base, we know that no one serves alone. Their loved ones must endure great sacrifice while their service members are deployed to combat zones and hotspots all around the world. Far too many of these military families must also endure the pain of watching their hero return home, deeply affected by their service, and so their sacrifice continues. For these reasons, there is Home Base.
I don't think any of us come back the same person. We are all changed by what we go through. Physical wounds have taken their toll, and we're still learning about the invisible ones, and I think those are probably the greater threat to my generation coming back because they're so misunderstood.
I numbed, I hid, I avoided, I ran. It was a revolving door of addictions.
I started having like 3 or 4 panic attacks a day. I would try to maybe go to the supermarket and my chest would start getting tight and I just couldn't be around people.
Is this what's supposed to be happening? Is this normal? Does everybody do this when they come home? We didn't know.
I don't know what else to do. He's not talking. It was so hard to take care of myself, take care of my kids, and take care of him. I had nothing left.
Home Base, a Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital program, works to heal the invisible wounds of war for post-9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Invisible wounds such as post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, co-occurring substance use disorders, anxiety, depression, and other issues related to service. Home Base offers treatment in their Boston-based outpatient clinic, couples therapy, support groups, and education about the invisible wounds of war. They treat their patients holistically, offering wellness and fitness programs to promote overall health, free weekend activities to strengthen family bonds, and classes to strengthen the mind-body connection.
Mass General is the #1 psychiatric hospital in the world, and we're very proud of what we've done, but we're just on our way.
In early 2016, Home Base took a new step towards healing the invisible wounds, launching an intensive clinical program called the ICP. In this concentrated outpatient treatment program, patients receive nearly a year's worth of therapy in 2 weeks' time.
We've tripled the size of this program over the past 3 years, and now it is transitioned to a National Center of Excellence that can see veterans and actively serving members from anywhere in the country.
Over the 2 weeks, patients engage in individual and group therapy, yoga and Tai Chi, art therapy, and they learn skills they can take back home and use to thrive in their everyday life.
The VA can only do so much. We require partners like Home Base to help us.
Leveraging local and national partnerships and building the expertise of world-class institutions such as Massachusetts General Hospital, Spaulding Rehabilitation Hospital, and Harvard Medical School, Home Base is changing the landscape of care for the 21st century veteran and military family.
I think people come to Home Base and immediately have an experience of, I'm understood, and these people really care about me.
Treatment works. That's the most powerful part of all of this. It's that we know that once we can get somebody in, that if they're willing to meet us halfway, we will do our part in making sure that they're able to reclaim their life.
It was one of the greatest things I've ever done. It really was. I can't thank everyone at home base enough. It was really a life-changing experience.
World-class clinical care, innovative wellness programs, education initiatives to train others to recognize, treat, and heal the invisible wounds, and cutting-edge research to develop new treatments. This is Home Base.
Since 2009, Home Base has served more than 11,000 veterans and family members with care and support. One of those veterans is Ryan Cassavant. Here's his story.
None of us knows for sure where life's road will lead us. But even as a kid, Ryan Cassavant had an inkling.
I always just infatuated with my grandfather being in the Marines and stuff, and just hearing his stories as a kid growing up. And then I always had camouflage on. We always played manhunt, and I'd be out there for 3-4 hours. No, we would find me.
5 years out of high school, Ryan would find himself working as a youth minister, one of God's soldiers as he describes it. The year was 2001.
Obviously 9/11 happened, and then kind of like making a pact with my brother, like, hey, you know what? If we want to go in, we'll both go in. And that's kind of how everything kind of floated back.
Within the year, life's road would lead Ryan to Afghanistan, and his view would be from the top of a Humvee.
I have a 60-pound missile on top of my Humvee that I was able to guide over 3,000 meters into impact and take out any armored threat or bunker in the world. But on top of the Humvee, while we had that tow missile, obviously long range and catastrophic explosions, we also had machine guns. We're going down goat trails or cross country in the middle of Afghanistan. That's why I got a lot of spinal injuries, because we drove off cliffs, got hit with IEDs or RPGs, throwing the truck back and forth, waking up after being knocked out, not knowing what just happened, and continuing. I ate, slept, did everything out of that Humvee for over 5 months.
2 tours of duty would bruise and batter his body, leaving him with an undiagnosed traumatic brain injury and other invisible wounds. One in particular that came during his last month of service.
I was in the casualty watch office. I was a casualty watch officer, so anybody that was killed or injured while in combat, we knew within 6 hours. Walked in, I had 3 red folders. Red is KIA, vanilla's wounded. And I shook my head, I'm like, no, I don't want these. Because I knew what unit it was. I just lost 3 of my good Marines and 3 of my good friends.
Returning stateside, Ryan moved home and took a job with a security company. The upside? He met a girl there. The downside? Too many hours on his feet. Nerve damage in his spine led to a loss of feeling in his legs and a collapse. That led to a loss of a job, and the world closed in as well, to the size of his parents' basement.
I didn't think I was going to see my son again, even though he was here. I didn't think I was going to see him. I was really afraid I wasn't going to see him.
I guess that's where it started. He just didn't want to do anything. People are like, why are you still with him? And I just, I wanted to be. I loved who he was, and I didn't want to leave.
The same couldn't be said for Ryan's parents, especially his mother, who bore the brunt of his anger.
He was very angry at me. He would be, Bob would come home from work, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. He was just very nasty. I said, one of us has to move out. I said, I think it's going to have to be me because Ryan can't live on his own yet.
When it started becoming more verbal, even though as a parent, I'm a husband first.
Like my dad said, gave me the ultimatum. He's like, hey, you got to find a job and get out of the house. So, ended up working at South Shore Hospital.
And he kept working on himself, too. Getting an apartment, working on a degree at UMass Boston, which is where another vet steered him towards home base.
I was going there as an individual for, my own issues between the TBI and PTSD, through the therapy, through the different doctors that I got there, recognizing that, yes, I still, to this day, suffer from insomnia, but they were able to get me into sleep studies done. They were able to get me into speech therapy.
Erica, I mean, she's a strong redhead, and she's stuck by me through all that garbage, all the stuff that I went through, and it takes us. I give her most of the credit, if not all of it, because she stuck by me through all the stupidity that and all the aggravation, all those fights and quarrels and stuff like that. That she stuck it out.
They actually recommended a couples-based therapy. He asked me if I would be a part of it, and I said, well, if that's what it takes, then yeah, I'll be a part of it. Shortly prior to this, we had had some issues, and we almost broke up, but we didn't. And then home base, I don't know if it came along or how it came along, but it was there.
That's one of the unique benefits of home base. They work with veterans and families, with families having a broad definition. If a person is important to you and your recovery, they're welcome to participate.
A lot of the same techniques that we learned in there, like, hey, I need 5 minutes or I need a timeout, if we get into a tiff or argument, because no couple ever does that, but they're like, hey, you know what, I need 20 minutes. A lot of the stuff that we learned at the home base with the therapy, we still use to this day.
He still has his bad days where he's just downstairs, and I know to stay away and give him the space. I don't do it all the time, but I know he needs it every once in a while to just decompress, especially with work and spending time with other guys who are even worse than him.
Ryan does have tough days at work, but in a job he loves. He recently joined Home Base as a Veterans Outreach Coordinator, the first point of contact when a vet reaches out for help. That voice that knows where you've been and how you can find your way back.
It's what helped me, and it's what could help them. And, Home Base definitely did its work. And if I can be an example to somebody else and it gets them through that comfort, they can take my word for it, then great. I'd be more than happy to let them know what's going on. You asked me this 11 years ago. I never thought I'd be this old and still walking on this earth. That view's changed, obviously. Now I can have a traditional happy birthday, because I didn't think I'd make it through, but definitely blessed and fortunate through, the help of God and through my family and friends that, I'm here.
Home Base provides services to military families such as Ryan's at no cost to them. If a patient has insurance, Home Base bills it. If not, Home Base covers the cost entirely. The organization also serves family members using a 3-generational model of care, providing support and clinical services to the parents of veterans, the partners and siblings of veterans, and the children of veterans. It's a place the entire family can go for help. And it can only be done because of you watching at home. Home Base is entirely philanthropically funded. Right now and through 10 o'clock tonight, staffers are standing by to accept your donation to help support this program. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. What better way to say thank you for your service? There are several ways you can contribute, and as a veteran myself, I hope you'll join us. You can call the phone bank toll-free 1-866-615-8387. You can text to give by texting veterans to 91999, upper lowercase texting, it doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. This year, Home Base launched a revolutionary new program to help veterans both locally and nationally. The intensive clinical program kicked off this past spring and has been transforming lives ever since. Lives like Laura Hartman's.
I was a very outgoing child. My first steps was when I was 9 months old and I was walking backwards. And anyone who knows me would say, that's Laura right there. You would come out walking backwards. I was a daddy's girl. I'm the youngest of 3 girls. We were all close growing up. We always had special bonds with each other. My father was military. He was active. I was happy. I was happy. On 9/11, I watched the towers fall and had a conversation with my father that I will never forget, of when Flight 93 went down in Pennsylvania, and those heroes on that flight that truly did fight for our freedom. Like most veterans, that was our call to duty. That's what drove us, something inside of us. So I waited till I was 18 to enlist, and I enlisted. I went active duty in the United States Army in support of 82nd Airborne at FOB Spiker, Iraq. It just felt right. It's what I was meant to do, is to serve. It's this sense of oneness. Race doesn't matter, that religion doesn't matter, political views don't matter. It's this true bond of one purpose, one goal, one mission. But with the good always came the drastic, horrific side of combat. I remember a lot. It was hot. It was, sandstorms would come and they would feel like they last for eternity. Time ceased to exist when you were there. We would receive gunfire every night. We would receive mortar rounds. Being mortared every night wasn't normal. I just wanted to escape. I would think of my sisters. I would disconnect to a place to survive. I was sent on emergency leave back to the States with PTS. And then I became my PTS. And I was stuck there for a decade. I became the most destructive person that I knew. I numbed, I hid, I avoided, I ran. It was a revolving door of addictions. I was always lying and running and cheating, and I didn't know how to articulate what had happened, what I had seen, what I had done. I didn't come back the same person. My sisters immediately knew.
Laura moved to Florida to start over. When she arrived, she found Homebase's Warrior Health and Fitness program. The organization runs the program in New England and also has an outpost down at Fenway South in the area by JetBlue Park.
When I came across Homebase, Homebase was an organization to keep veterans active, and that's what I enjoyed. This program was for fun and for free, and it was engaging with other people on the same journey.
Our main component of the program is exercise, kind of establishing a wellness program.
It comes with 2 personal trainers, a yoga coach, a sleep coach, and a nutritionist for 6 months. I was overweight. I have lost about 22 pounds working with the guys.
The workout programs we put together are very similar to what we put together for our athletes here at the Red Sox. Our goal is to help people move better.
Move better, feel better, and be ready to take a leap to more intense clinical care when and if it's needed.
That's when I decided I'm going to trust this process, and I don't know what this process is, but something's gonna change, and I'm gonna live differently. I first heard of the intensive clinical program when I was working out with one of my trainers. He's like, "Are you interested in going to Boston?" And I looked at him, I'm like, "Yes."
The ICP is a 2-week program that we've found to be transformative for people. We specialize in treatment of PTSD and traumatic brain injury. However, people are also here working on problems with depression or general anxiety, relationship issues, substance abuse issues. Often these things come together, so we try to have a broad spectrum of treatment options for them. At home base, we have a pretty vast multidisciplinary team, and the ICP really highlights that team, bringing in art therapy with, traditional psychotherapy and medications, and combined with alternative or integrative therapies like yoga and Tai Chi. I mean, it's powerful, when you see the benefits of the work that you've put into helping someone, and I think in the 2-week setting, you see it really happening.
Treatment works, and when you put 100% in, you can get 100% out. The hell that combat put me through, it's worth it to know that I was willing to die for my country, and now I'm willing to live. And as a veterans advocate, I'm very humbled to be part of something bigger again. This week I was with the guys doing a photo shoot, doing sunset beach yoga. And one of my trainers just looked at me. He's like, "You were zenned out. You were just in your zone, Laura." And I was like, "I'm happy, yes."
If you're a veteran or know of a veteran who may be in need of care or would like to learn more about home base, connect with the program at homebase.org. The website provides education about the invisible wounds of war, a phone number and email to connect with care, and information about the wide array of programs Home Base offers. If you'd like to donate, the phone bank is now open until 10 o'clock tonight. You can call us toll-free, 1-866-615-8387. You can text to give by texting veterans to 91999, upper lowercase texting, it doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. Home Base offers a series of wellness programs aimed at caring for veterans and their family members holistically. One such program is called Resilient Warrior, and there's also Resilient Family. These classes are offered in 6-week sessions, and they're aimed at making folks more adaptable in stressful situations by tuning in the mind-body connection. To some, it sounds pretty far out. But in reality, the program's director says it's something happening every day. Home Base's resiliency classes teach participants how to harness that connection and use it to their advantage.
I tell people an example of that is if you're wearing a blood pressure cuff and you're sitting in your office and somebody comes in and tells you something that's stressful, perhaps you're not getting your promotion, and you will see the body respond in such a way that the blood pressure will become dysregulated. So being able to, in that moment, practice deep breathing, meditation, or mindfulness can be immensely helpful for anybody.
For service members and veterans, these skills can be immensely helpful in trying to quell hypervigilance, something that was life-saving while they were deployed, but problematic once back home. For military family members, these skills can help calm the near constant worry of a loved one who may be in harm's way or living with a veteran reintegrating into civilian life. They also provide an opportunity to create a sense of community with other military families and to experience a sense of support. One of our wellness-type programs is called the Adventure Series. Now, this set of free activities is open to military families looking to do something fun together. The goal is to strengthen family bonds while also letting them learn a little bit about our programs.
One of the things I love about this program is they don't limit you.
Went to the Pawtucket Red Sox game last year. We went skiing at Loon as a family, which we would never do.
Ketchup. It was a great day for just me and my family to kind of reconnect and kind of just have a day together and kind of just make some new memories.
This is a series of different events that we have scheduled for veterans, service members, and their family members to participate in that they maybe don't have time or the means to participate in otherwise.
We got connected really with programming with Home Base in 2010, and you just start with a simple conversation of like, you know, we have a playground, we have sailboats, we think it's the greatest thing in the world, and maybe you guys would like it too. And it's a great experience, all kinds of things to get outside, but get out on the water. You know, as soon as you go around this island and you're out there, it's peaceful. And it's sun and waves and water and wind, and it's really good for the soul.
We partnered with Home Base to get some veterans and their families out for a fun day here at our farm. We had a lot to offer. It was a nice match, a nice fall day, apple picking, pumpkin picking. We've got a corn maze, a play area for children. So it just made sense to give back a little something, put some smiles on some veterans' faces.
It means the world to me to be able to go out and take my family and, you know, go to a place like this where it may be crowded or have a lot of people, but we're able to actually just have fun and be able to enjoy ourselves, where it's not like a hurry up and rush event or, all right, we gotta leave, we gotta go, I'm not comfortable here.
Some veterans have issues with being in crowds, being in traffic, dealing with some of these different situations that maybe bring back bad memories or remind them of instances when they were overseas, and they have issues coping with that. This provides a safe environment for them to maybe delve into that a little bit, get exposed to being at a Sox game in a crowd. There's a lot of people there, they're screaming, yelling, loud noises, but they can take comfort before they even arrive, knowing that they're going to be there with the program, they're going to be surrounded by other veterans who all care about them. We all look out for each other.
In general, one of the most important things for me has been the ability for the Home Base program to bridge the gap from me individually to the family.
And I've actually met other veterans. I've met like Air Force veterans, Navy veterans, other Marines, and you know, just being able to in touch with them and their kids get to know some of my kids.
It's been a blessing. It's allowed us to be able to go out and reconnect in ways that maybe we haven't been able to do that before, or kind of reestablish, you know, old memories, whether it be coming out and going apple picking and just spending the day together, or taking, you know, my niece or my sister to an event, and then they can also learn more about Home Base, and then it also allows us to connect with other families and other veterans. So now we're kind of building, you know, a new family.
It really allows me and my family to get out and do things when you never think it would be possible.
I encourage any veterans and service members who are out there, who have families, who are looking for a little more than what they're getting in their normal lives. Sure, they go on family events, they go picnicking and hiking, but if you'd like to do that in a community of other veterans, other service members, where everyone has similar experiences, where you can talk about some of your experiences, you don't feel comfortable talking with some of your other friends who aren't in the service, the Adventure Series is definitely something worth looking into. The program is a good way to help them overcome some of those barriers so that they can, as a family, move forward and begin the healing process.
Home Base collaborates with businesses and nonprofit community organizations throughout New England who host the Adventure Series activities. Past activities include skiing and skating, museum visits in the winter, and sailing and attending baseball games and other sports in the summertime. If you would like to sign up for our Adventure Series, visit our website, www.homebase.org, and click on the Wellness and Fitness tab.
I'm Marty Walsh, and I'm proud to support the Home Base program. Veterans put their life on the line to protect our freedoms. It's our responsibility as a city and a nation to be there for our heroes when they come home. The Red Sox Foundation and Mass General Hospital are putting gratitude into action. Home Base connects veterans and their families to high-quality health care and social services they need. And the program recognizes that the healing of the invisible wounds of war is just as important as fixing the physical ones. So I urge you to join me in supporting Home Base. When you do, you'll be helping them take care of our veterans and make sure their sacrifices are never forgotten. Thank you.
Hello again, and thanks for tuning in for Home Base's Veterans Day special. This is a telethon to raise funds to heal the invisible wounds of war for post 9/11 veterans, service members, and military families. Home Base is a partnership of the Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital. Established in 2009, the organization provides world-class clinical care and wellness programs to veterans and their family members at no cost to them. Home Base also trains clinicians across the country to better recognize, assist, and treat veterans with invisible wounds, and conducts research to ensure new treatments are on the horizon. The need for Home Base and the services they provide is great. Since 9/11, nearly 3 million men and women have deployed. 1 in 3 have returned with an invisible wound, such as post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury. These injuries can be just as debilitating as any physical wound, affecting the lives of entire families. In this show, you'll hear from the veterans who faced challenges after deployment, who received care at Home Base. This next story contains content that may be tough to hear, but it was important to Will Snow, the veteran profile, to tell his story. Will hopes that he'll inspire other veterans watching to reach out for help.
Will is a patient of mine who I have had the pleasure of treating for, at this point, over a year. Will came into the clinic, or I should say he was kind of pushed into the clinic by his wife. He was very reluctant to engage in treatment, mainly because his symptoms of PTSD were contributing to him not wanting to leave the house and being quite scared, quite anxious on a daily basis.
In 2015, Will Snow was a shell of his former self. After 7 years and 3 deployments as an Army Ranger, Will was told his Army service was over, medically retired due to injuries sustained overseas. He became a recluse, a ghost of the man and medic who was excited to enlist and deploy.
Well, I kind of had the desire to be in the Army for a while. I kind of grew up with my grandparents, and I probably watched every war movie with my grandfather, you know, and his medals would be on the wall, so it's kind of always something I guess I looked up to, you know. You go to Ranger Battalion, I think it's because you want to deploy. I mean, you're working with guys who are like, just really, really, I mean, you're talking like super athletic, super smart. I was just kind of glad to be part of the team, you know, and kind of have my part, you know.
After undergoing rigorous training as a Ranger medic, Will's first deployment was to Iraq. He felt prepared.
I spent 2 years in a training pipeline. All I wanted to do was go overseas and work, you know, so I was kind of excited to go.
But it didn't take long for the realities of war to rival and then surpass his old war movies.
It was actually my first deployment. Was about, it was kind of an ambush, but it wasn't a very good ambush. But they had about 20-something, 25 women and children, and they ambushed us from on top of a house where they just kind of herded them all into, you know. So we take fire, we shoot back, you know, and then they had a machine gun on the roof, so we dropped some bombs, you know, and then, you know, have to deal with the aftermath afterwards. And, you know, there was 2 kids I couldn't save, and that was really, you know, that was the tough part. It's just, you don't train for that, you know. It's all your models through the pipeline, and even when we were training to go overseas, maybe it's not as common, or I don't know why, but it's just, you know, you train on adult models, male adult models. That's everything we do, you know. So when it was 2 little girls, that's kind of what kind of hit me, you know.
First week that he was deployed, so you can imagine, you know, here you are in your first deployment as a medic, and within the first week you're faced with a situation where you have to witness the killing of 2 young innocent girls. And you know, of course, the irony is not lost in anybody in knowing that Will has his own 2 little girls.
Will, his wife Amber, and those 2 little girls live in Massachusetts, a picture-perfect family. But the picture did not reflect the reality.
I started having like 3 or 4 panic attacks a day. Just at first, I didn't think they were panic attacks. I was having a heart attack. It was chest pain. And I would try to maybe go to the supermarket, and my chest would start getting tight, and I just couldn't be around people. You don't think anything's wrong, or you think you can get over it, you know? And a lot of times you don't even realize the stuff you're putting other people through at the time, you know?
I had done a pretty good job glossing over how bad it was, how hurt he really was, how unhappy I was. I didn't know if we were going to survive it as a couple.
Amber took up running to cope with the difficulties at home.
Running was for me. When I was at home, you know, I had 2 kids under 2 and a husband who was not really there. And if I could get an hour or even half an hour, get outside and just run, I just could just forget everything and just be.
When Amber saw an ad for the Run to Home Base, she signed up. The annual event brings thousands of runners, walkers, active duty military, veterans, and their families to raise awareness of the invisible wounds of war. As Amber sat in the stands listening to the opening ceremonies that day, she knew Home Base would be the place that Will could go for help.
The 2 previous runs to Home Base, I listened to the stories.
Looked in the mirror and I saw somebody else.
And it was just, these people can be helped. You can be helped.
Will worked with Dr. Tim Peterson on dealing with his post-traumatic stress, a process for many that is tough.
It's difficult. It makes you rehash stuff you don't want to rehash. And then on top of that, they're like, you don't like to go to the supermarket, go to the supermarket. You know, whatever it is, you know. You don't want to be around people, go be around people, go talk to people. Because the stuff I had in my head, it was kind of getting in the way of life. I still have the memories, you know, it's never not going to be sad. You know, that's the thing, is they don't push it to where it's like all of a sudden you don't think it's no big deal or whatever, because it's a tragedy, you know. But if they just make you be able to live with it.
Live with it and begin to thrive again. This year, the Snows found themselves back where his journey to recovery began, at the Run to Home Base. The family of 4 was honored in the opening ceremonies by Red Sox chairman Tom Werner.
I'd like Will and Amber and their doctor, Dr. Peterson, to please stand up so we can personally thank you and tell you how deeply we care about you, and that's why we're here.
When you watch someone who's essentially housebound because of their symptoms, being able to do all the things that we would expect an adult to be able to do in their lives, to watch that kind of transformation, you know, is super gratifying as a clinician.
It's like now when you're free, it's just like, what do I do with myself now that I can do stuff? Because it was easy. I had my whole day planned before. I'm not going to leave my house.
A lot of people out there, as we speak, are not receiving care because it's too daunting to think about doing. So him sharing the story, I think, is amazing.
If you're a veteran or know of a veteran who may be in need of care or would like to learn more about Home Base, connect with the program at homebase.org. The website provides education about the invisible wounds of war, a phone number, and email to connect with care and information about the wide array of programs Home Base offers. Home Base is entirely philanthropically funded. Right now and through 10 o'clock tonight, staffers are standing by to accept your donation to help support this program. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. What better way to say thank you for your service on Veterans Day? There are several ways you can contribute. You can call the phone bank toll-free 866-615-8387. You can text to give by texting veterans to 91999. Upper lowercase texting, it doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. This year, Home Base launched a new program to treat the invisible wounds of war. The intensive clinical program is a game changer, allowing Home Base to go beyond treating veterans in the New England area and instead opening up services to veterans nationwide. One of the first veterans to go through this program with us, Army veteran Bill Geiger.
To witness Bill Geiger celebrating the launch of Home Base's intensive clinical program last April, standing among and sharing the podium with the likes of Army Chief of Staff General Mark Milley, was to witness a remarkable demonstration of the power of resilience.
There's not really a scenario in which
The ICP, a critical intervention for veterans struggling with the invisible wounds of war, was born out of a recognition that many veterans like Bill, who desperately need the services of home base, live too far away to access them. Clinicians and staff at home base created a unique service model for them. Give us 2 weeks, and we will give you the tools you need to reclaim your life. 2 weeks. That happens to be twice as long as Bill and Sarah Geiger's engagement. The rush to the altar, the result of his upcoming deployment to Guantanamo. They did not, however, rush into love. They had first met in grade school and reconnected in college. Sarah and Bill knew each other well, and she knows when things changed.
I knew something was wrong the day he got home from Cuba after his first deployment. He started yelling out commands, basically, and he was yelling them out so quickly that I remember just kind of being frozen and not knowing which way to turn, like what to do first. I truly felt like a deer in headlights.
The emotion was so extreme, the anger was so extreme that, again, it was like it was somebody else doing the talking.
He would tell me over and over again, it's in my head. I'm the one that's being sensitive, or I'm the one that's making a big deal, or, you know, it was just all me.
A second deployment followed, and on his return, so too did the anger and the outbursts. While the family grew, Sarah's hope faded.
We were at the point where he didn't want to come home, and I didn't want him to come home.
She wrote a letter to their pastor, questioning if the marriage had been a mistake. Bill found that letter.
I was heartbroken. So when you realize that you've done something like that to your family, to the point that she really had nobody to turn to, I mean, in my opinion, the preacher's probably the best one, but you know, the fact that she had been alone, I guess, in her struggle, or watching me struggle, I would say that was probably the glaring, undeniable fact that there was something wrong.
Bill took part in the first intensive clinical program. All ICP participants are brought to Boston, housed and fed, and immersed in individual and group therapy, techniques to develop resiliency and stress reduction, integrative therapies like yoga, art, and Tai Chi, as well as fitness and nutrition. A unique combination of wraparound treatment provided at no cost to the veterans.
So maybe I was skeptical that what's 2 weeks going to do for me? It kind of hit me in the face about day 2 of the treatment that it wasn't anything like I'd experienced before.
In 2 weeks, veterans receive nearly a year's worth of treatment and training, and the evidence from follow-up reports shows that the concept is working.
You get an incredible amount of stuff to process, but there's this transformation that takes place from day 1 to day 14. We see these young men and women come in on day 1 and they are isolated. They can't maintain eye contact in some cases. They've got their hoodies up and they really are isolated. By day 14, when we graduate, you just look around the room and they've got a new band of brothers and sisters that they can lean on, that they're now joking around like they're in high school or back in a platoon. And they get up and they actually make self-affirmation speeches talking about how they've been able to change.
Critically, the services continue beyond the 2-week program. Before they even leave for home, the veterans are connected to providers in their home communities, ensuring a continuity of care.
Some of the clinical staff said, we're going to help you find support back home. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give them a call. I was like, no, come on in my office, let's call some people.
Each of you has had to overcome a great deal of adversity in your life.
I think they are a particularly resilient group. They are altruistic, they have morals, they believe in big principles, and so a little bit of treatment goes a long way, helping them identify. The hardest thing about working with veterans, however, is that they're willing to put everyone else first before themselves.
For those that come after me, for those that are in this room.
Today, Bill Geiger is an ambassador for the intensive clinical program and home base. Sharing his story with other vets is his new mission.
That's why I'm so proud of him for putting himself out there, because I think so many veterans will be able to relate to him.
You feel alone, you might sit in your bedroom and be alone, but the fact is you're never truly alone if you're willing to accept the help that's already here, that's already set up.
Call our phone bank toll-free, 866-615-8387. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. You can text to give by texting veterans to 91999. Upper lowercase texting doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. Right now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Lauren Richards, a clinical psychologist for Homebase. And Lauren, great to see you.
Nice to see you,
Now,
Randy.
you work both at the regional outpatient clinic where Will Snow got treatment, and you also are at the intensive clinical program where Bill Geiger got care. How do you decide which is the best program for the patient?
Yeah, you know, several factors contribute to that decision, and that decision is really made between the clinical team and the individual to determine what would be most helpful and optimally beneficial for them. One of the biggest indicators is really severity of symptoms. If somebody is functioning well and working and can come in once per week for treatment at an outpatient level and then do a lot of the work on their own in between, we would recommend an outpatient setting. On the other hand, for somebody whose symptoms have become very interfering, they might benefit from a more intensive level of care, coming to the intensive clinical program for 2 weeks of day programming in order to get skills under their belt and then maybe step down into an outpatient level of
For
care.
those who come to the regional outpatient clinic, how long is the course of care for them?
Again, that's made on an individual, it's an individual assessment, typically 3 to 6 months, I would say. Again, that varies, and again, that's decided with the clinician and the patient as they make their treatment plan. And for those who, you know, again, maybe for geographical reasons aren't able to come once a week to an outpatient clinic, there are viable options, including telehealth, where the clinician will work with the patient actually remotely to be able to pursue the treatment in a way that doesn't actually require the patient to come into the city if that's difficult for them, to get them the care that they need, regardless of their geographical location within Massachusetts.
And in that intensive clinical program, you build in these alternative therapies like yoga and fitness.
Yeah.
Can everybody benefit from these?
You know, I think that there are aspects of invisible wounds that really take away from engaging in some of these activities that really build a high quality of life. And so this more holistic approach that we take at Homebase really re-engages a veteran or service member with these activities that actually improve their quality of life. And I believe that most, if not all, find it very beneficial.
Doctor, thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
As you just heard, Homebase puts an emphasis on treating veterans holistically, along with clinical care. They offer wellness programs such as Warrior Health and Fitness to keep a veteran in good overall health. The program is having a profound effect on those who participate.
Believe it or not, the demanding physical training that's required of our military to carry out their duties is one of the aspects of service that many vets say they miss the most upon discharge.
Breathe. Good.
It's great because it brings you back to how it felt to be in the military and be challenged, and to look at the guy next to you and he's struggling, so you're gonna try and help him by pushing one more push-up out.
Take it nice and easy, okay?
Andrew McCarthy is the Director of Veteran and Military Services at Northeastern University. And that's where Homebase runs its Warrior Health and Fitness program in the Boston area.
In the military, we maintain our physical fitness because we have to be ready for whatever the enemy throws at us. You get out and the enemy is everyday life.
Everyday life can throw a lot of stress on a person, and it's been well established that physical exercise can help relieve that.
And you're gonna press all the way through.
It's one of many reasons why Homebase established Warrior Health and Fitness.
Straight up, straight down.
Warriors have been trained in some ways as athletes, and they're used to being fit. There's a camaraderie effect to that.
So again, 5 or 6 on that side.
There's a general health and wellness for one's behavioral mental health and one's general physical health from being fit, from exercising. Aerobic exercises promotes brain plasticity and enhances elements of learning and connectivity.
Whether in Boston or in Southwest Florida, where home base also offers warrior health and fitness, the connection to fellow soldiers is another great benefit. Veterans don't have to be identified as suffering from PTSD or any of the other invisible wounds to participate. They only need to express a desire to take part, to access the expertise of a trainer, a mental skills coach, and a dietitian, all at no cost to the vet.
There's something distinct about being a participant in a goal-oriented program that's tailored to you. The nutrition part of the program is tailored to you. The exercise part of the program is tailored to you. You have specific goals. This is not, I just joined a fitness gym and I'm going twice a week.
All the way, finish strong.
It's not just clinical psychology. They're focused on your overall well-being. Like, they take a holistic approach to taking care of the veteran. They're worried about your fitness levels, your nutrition, your mental skills. They focus on sleep. There you go.
Getting you tired after a good workout helps in that regard.
I sleep a lot better right now that I work out every day, so I'm so fatigued at the end of the day. I just go to sleep right on because I've been having some sleeping problems lately, but the past 2 weeks I've been working out, I've been sleeping a little bit more better.
The vets in Florida have the advantage of being able to be outside more often than their counterparts up north, but they'll have the same services and the same connections.
It's nice to have people there you can talk to. I'll say things to fellow veterans who I've known for a short time that I wouldn't say to my brother, because he just wouldn't get it, wouldn't understand where I'm coming from. So you instantly get that relationship built with that common ground.
What is really cool about this program is I think we can transform it from what it is now into something much larger for warriors. What we can do is work to transform their lives, not only now, but long term.
If you're a veteran at home listening and think that you may want to sign up for the free Warrior Health and Fitness program, log on to our website, www.homebase.org. Click the Wellness and Fitness tab to sign up. On November 7th, Home Base held their annual Mission Gratitude Concert featuring the Beach Boys and Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Kyle White. I was honored to serve as MC. The event bringing together New England's business and civic leaders with members of the military and their families to raise awareness of the invisible wounds of war and to raise funds for the clinical services, wellness programs, education, and research that Home Base provides. It was quite the night.
Catch a wave and you're sitting on top of the world.
Part concert, part social event, part fundraiser. Mission Gratitude is always 100% truth in advertising. This evening is a loud and clear thank you to the men, women, and families who have sacrificed so much to keep us safe.
I think it's important to support Home Base is because of who it serves. The men and women who decide to put on that uniform and ultimately end up in the field of combat put themselves before the rest of us. And something like Home Base, which is such a terrific tool to help them come back home and stay home and become part of the community that they left behind, it's just a really important part of who we should be all about.
There's not a venue large enough to accommodate every veteran or soldier to whom we owe a debt. But significantly, in a place of honor and prominence at Agganis Arena, a table was set for POWs and MIAs, a symbolic salute to those who are missing from our midst. For Home Base, Mission Gratitude is a chance to widen the circle of friends and supporters by introducing them to the innovative therapeutic programs to deal with invisible wounds of war.
It's a night of celebration, it's a night of raising support, and it's a night of being able to communicate to our community that there are those who need help and they need a hand on the shoulder, and that Home Base is something that is there for them.
It means a huge amount to our clinical staff, and they get great rewards from making a difference in the lives of these patients. And there's nothing more rewarding to me than to hear directly from our patients in this program about how this has helped turn their life around and get them much better integrated into their home, into their families, and resume more of a normal life.
As someone who has struggled with the invisible wounds, I can tell you
The need for the kind of services that Homebase provides was made abundantly clear when the evening's scheduled featured speaker, Medal of Honor recipient Kyle White, canceled in the last week. This week marked the anniversary of the ambush in which 6 of his brothers in arms were killed, a battle for which his extraordinary valor was recognized. A Medal of Honor recipient is not immune from experiencing some of the symptoms of the invisible wounds of war.
You know, I think it speaks to the fact that we can't control what we feel or how things impact us, but we can control what we do about it. And Kyle's doing okay, but he's doing what he needs to do to be healthy. And he'll get whatever help he needs because I know Kyle, and that's what he's done in the past. And I think if anything, that's an example for everybody that they should be able to go and do the same thing.
The success of Homebase is truly something to celebrate. And on this Mission Gratitude evening, the Beach Boys and their feel-good vibe brought that message home. For as long as the need will exist, Homebase is committed to expanding its ability to serve post-9/11 veterans and their families. The goal is to reach more vets in a greater number of communities, and we are grateful to you for helping to make that happen.
Thank you for the support.
There are so many ways you can help those who are battling the invisible wounds of war. Since 9/11, 1 in 3 men and women who have deployed returned battling these injuries, such as post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. Help Homebase give them the care they've earned. You can call our phone bank toll-free 866-615-8387. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. Or you can text to give by texting veterans to 91999, upper, lowercase texting, it doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give.
For the past 3 years, Southern New Hampshire University has been a Grand Slam sponsor of the Homebase program and the Run to Homebase. We've had over 100 participants, 30 volunteers just this last year, but more than that, we really have a shared mission and vision of support of our military adult learners and our veterans.
At the 7th annual Run to Homebase.
When we were first starting to grow our military advising programs, we selected a group of military advisors who had military experience or affiliation themselves, and they were saying that they needed additional supports for their military students, particularly those that were transitioning from active duty into civilian life. One of the needs that they identified clearly was that these students may have been struggling academically, but their struggles were actually much more significant than that, dealing with mental health concerns, some of them expressing post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury.
Throughout history, our military has a long-standing history of training and supporting and preparing to go to war by supporting each other. Upon returning from combat and transitioning out of the service, there are gaps in that support, and that's why it's so important and critical to have organizations like the Homebase program.
We reached out to the Homebase program to have them provide education support services to our advisors so that they could be better equipped to support those students. And our relationship really flourished from there.
We really have a shared mission and vision between the Homebase and supporting our military students and student veterans every step of the way.
Well, I went back to school here at Southern New Hampshire University in September 2011, finished up an undergrad in psychology and was working on an undergrad in elementary ed, ended up finishing in 14 and 15 with a graduate degree. And I work here as a grad advisor. My goal is to give back to those military members and their spouses and their dependent children, the veterans that that served our country so proudly, to know that those benefits are out there for them. I want to make sure that they have those same opportunities that I had when they get out, when they transition, to utilize those benefits, to maximize them, so they can help propel them in whatever career field they want to go into.
I think the other critical component of what we do is ensuring that education is affordable. Even while they're active duty and needing to also support their family while pursuing their education, we take affordability really seriously. We measure success by the success of our students. So if they achieve their goals, we consider ourselves to be successful in what we do.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Randy Price on behalf of Home Base, a Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital program. Home Base has one mission: to heal the invisible wounds of war for post 9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Invisible wounds such as post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, anxiety, depression, co-occurring substance use disorder, military sexual trauma, and other issues associated with service. If you are a veteran who may need care, Home Base has several treatment options available. Treatment provided at no cost to the patient is offered at a Boston-based clinic. Or you may be a fit for the 2-week intensive clinical program where lodging, meals, and transportation are also provided at no cost. Home Base is truly changing the lives of folks who come through the program, like the Sanger family, who bravely share their story in hopes of inspiring other military families to reach out for help.
The Sanger family is about as all-American as you get. Mike is a U.S. Army veteran. His wife, Carrie, is a nurse. And this blonde family of 6 is always doing something together, be it throwing the ball around the front yard, taking part in a family football draft, even dressing up in homemade Halloween costumes for their annual bash. The Sangers are happy, really truly happy. They're a living testament to the American belief that hard work and perseverance pay off.
I went to the University of Lowell, where I met my fantastic wife.
We really connected in college. We just spent a lot of time talking, and I felt like I knew him from when I was a little kid, even though we had just met.
We just hung out, the old hanging out in college, and we were just best friends, almost from moment one.
Mike and Carrie dated all the way through college, but broke up senior year. They spent 6 years apart, and in that time, Mike, now 29 years old, joined the Army. It was shortly after that Carrie reached out and wrote him a letter.
When she wrote the letter and I got it, I remember being excited like a little kid all over again that I got, this letter from Carrie.
When I had written the letter, I said, if he's open, I'm gonna marry him.
And marry they did. Less than a year after reconnecting, they tied the knot. With Mike still in basic training, Carrie handled all of the details.
I was literally flying in a Friday night, hadn't seen the tux, hadn't met the woman who was gonna marry us. Showed up at 9 in the morning, got dressed, we get married, had the reception, took pictures, and within 24 hours, we were on a plane.
On a plane and back to living the military life. It was about a year later that Mike deployed to Iraq. His now wife, Carrie, said goodbye, and she was 4 months pregnant.
That day of saying goodbye was really hard because I just wanted one more hug or one more kiss. Because I was like, this could be my last one.
The military is very good at giving you an arena to just focus on the job that you need to do. And for me, that was route clearance and taking care of IEDs on the side of the road.
I couldn't call him, obviously. I would send him pictures of my belly and do side shots and share with him how things were going on my side of things. And I just wanted to hear how things were going for him. But he was so tight-lipped that he never shared anything.
Carrie gave birth to the couple's first son, Alden, while Mike was deployed.
And it was weird because she was here with him and I was, 6,000 miles away.
He came home on leave a few weeks later to meet the baby.
And it was strange to come home, you know, get off the plane, and she's standing there in the terminal with this baby that I'd seen pictures of, but I was like, oh my gosh, look at him. That's my son.
After the initial shock, both Mike and Carrie say the visit went well. It was almost like a honeymoon. But before long, Mike was back in Iraq, where a trio of pivotal events awaited.
We did lose somebody in July of 2007 to an IED. The night before he got killed, we were sitting around a fire just talking, you know, just like you do. And 24 hours later, he was gone.
9 days after the death of his friend, Mike was shot.
I got shot in the chest by a sniper. The rounds basically bounced off the side of my chest plate and took a chunk out of my pectoral muscle. It wasn't deemed bad enough to send me home, I guess. And you know, honestly, I didn't want to go home because I didn't want to leave my guys.
He did heal and eventually went back out on the road. Mike expected to go home in December, but then news that his deployment had been extended.
And that was just an absolute destruction to morale at that point in time.
Eventually, the deployment ended, and Mike did come home, leaving the heat and dust of Iraq and landing in Fort Drum in the middle of a blizzard.
It was snowing sideways, and then I get to walk up and see my wife and now my son, who's 11 months old and huge. And my wife has short hair, and I almost didn't recognize her. It was wild. It was, again, it was instant family, just dad.
When he got back from Iraq, I was just thrilled. I was so excited. I was like, great, he'll be back. We'll be back together. He'll be excited. He'll be happy. And he came home and he was like, he was different. He was struggling and he couldn't figure out how to be, who to be. And that's when I was like, oh, so when they come back, when men and women come back from war, they're not just jump back into life. It just doesn't happen that way.
Carrie came to home base first, attending one of their support groups for the partners of veterans. She found it incredibly helpful, and before long, she and Mike began to take advantage of the other services that home base provides. Mike went into treatment, and the Sangers began their journey back to life in color.
I worked with Mike and Carrie Sanger for the better part of a year.
Mike Sanger came to see me for medication evaluation.
I was Mike's individual therapist.
The Sangers experienced the kind of wraparound care that makes home base unique, all within one team of expert clinicians.
I mean, this was really a case of the sum is greater than its parts.
When I started treatment at home base, you could speak to me, but I wouldn't really hear you.
Now he's interested in the kids and he's interested in me and he wants to talk and he wants to share. And
they absolutely have fought their way back to a family that is happy, that feels safe.
The Sangers tonight have a wish for anyone listening who is struggling. Find home base.
I mean, it saved our marriage. Like, it really did.
In the military, they teach you to just drive on, right? Just keep doing the mission, keep going. And the mission ends. I'm still in treatment once a month, once every 6 weeks. And it's allowed me to become the dad I am today. And the therapy and the care that I've gotten at home base has allowed me to be able to do that in ways that I never could have imagined.
We want to thank the Sanger family for sharing their story. Carrie Sanger said that she first came to home base by attending one of our support groups. Home base offers a military parent support group on the fourth Tuesday of each month from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the home base clinic on 101 Merrimack Street in Boston. Homebase also offers a support group for military spouses and partners. This group meets on the first Tuesday of each month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at Newton Wellesley Hospital's Ambulatory Care Center in Newton, Massachusetts. Homebase is entirely philanthropically funded. And right now and through 10 o'clock tonight, staffers are standing by to accept your donation to help support the program. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. What better way to say thank you for your service? There are several ways you can contribute. You can call the phone bank toll-free 866-615-8387, or you can text to give by texting VETERANS to 91999. Upper lowercase texting, doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. As you know, the Medal of Honor is the United States' highest military honor. It's awarded for personal acts of valor above and beyond the call of duty. The medal is awarded by the President in the name of the U.S. Congress. There are only 11 living Medal of Honor recipients from the war in Afghanistan. New Hampshire's own Staff Sergeant Ryan Pitts is a former Army soldier. He received the medal for his actions in 2008 during the Battle of Wanat.
Pitts spoke at Homebase's Mission Gratitude Benefit Concert this week in place of Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Kyle White, who was unable to attend. This week marks the anniversary of the battle during which his heroic actions led to him being awarded our nation's highest honor. Understandably, those events are weighing heavily. A Medal of Honor recipient is not above experiencing some of the symptoms of the invisible wounds of war that may accompany the anniversary of such a loss. Staff Sergeant Pitts says that White's experience draws attention to the need for Homebase and spoke about it in his speech.
It's an honor to be here tonight, and thank you everyone for being here. It is unfortunate that Kyle couldn't be here, but luckily he felt comfortable reaching out to me. I've known Kyle longer than I care to remember now. I knew him when he was a punk private, a punk specialist, and now I know him as a punk Medal of Honor recipient. And I think he was very forthcoming with it, right? He just said, you heard the story of what he went through. I mean, to awake at 21 years old after being knocked out, and your buddies around you are wounded and dying, and you have to get to the task of trying to save as many of them as you can before he thought he was going to die. And that day, it snuck up on him this year. We talked about it. It does. It happens from time to time. You're doing well throughout the year. You had planned to be here. You had planned to do other things this Veterans Day week, and he wasn't expecting it. It's been 8 years, and it hits him around this time, and it can hit us at any time during the year. I think it's an example that none of us are immune. I'm not immune. I know that there are guys that serve with Kyle and I that, to me, are just absolute warriors. Guys that have done 40-plus months in combat, some that have done 2 tours and gotten out and gone home. And it's all impacted us differently. Hey, there's no rule book here, and I thought it was particularly important that home base is listed in the services and the invisible wounds. It's not just PTS. There's anxiety, there's depression, there's all these things. And I think it's easy sometimes to jump to the conclusion that you hear invisible wounds and you think of post-traumatic stress, and I don't think it's this all-encompassing that, you've been downrange, guess what, you're stamped with post-traumatic stress. A lot of these guys have come back. We come back different, not just because of the bad things that we see, but also for what the military meant to us, for the brotherhood, to come home and lose that and come back and feel like maybe you don't fit in back here. And it's been interesting to see my friends transition and not know that they're struggling, and then for them to finally come out and say it. And these are the same guys that I'm talking about that are warriors that I would never think any less of them. There's nothing they could ever do to disappoint me or let me down. And for them to say, hey man, I'm going and getting some help, and I can almost hear shame or disappointment in their own voice, and it always catches me off guard because I just don't understand it. They're brothers. We're brothers. I love them. You twist an ankle, you break a leg, you're going to go do physical therapy. Why is that any different if you get a little banged up in your squash? Right? And I just look at them, and hey, thanks, man, and I'm not alone. They're not alone. I've done it. And I made the same mistake. There's something that Jack said one time. I can't remember whether he said it publicly speaking or if it was one of his Jackisms on the side. But he was talking about we're raised in the military to play hurt. And that stuck with me. That's something they always ask you. You twist your ankle, you get hurt doing a jump, road march, whatever, and your leader might ask you, so what, are you hurt or are you injured? And there's a distinct difference there. And we all fight, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say, no, I'm hurt. They're going to pick up and they're going to drive on because they don't want their buddies to think any less of them. And I think sometimes that can set us up for failure a little bit as civilians. We get out here on our own, and for whatever reason, as veterans and people that have been to war, we think that we should be able to, handle the civilian world, that nothing should touch us. And you think you should just drive on. And we got to know the difference between when you're driving on, are you hurt or are you injured? You got to take a cold, hard look in the mirror, do your gut check, whatever it was. Do what Kyle did. He just picked up the phone and told me. He said, hey, man, I'm thinking I don't think I can do this. I don't think it's good for me right now. I went through a little bit of that last year. I was having a hard time, and for me, it comes out of nowhere. I mean, I hear a song on the radio. I look at my kids, and I realize how fortunate I am to be here when 9 of my brothers aren't. They made it possible for me to be here. And I struggled on, actually, for a number of months thinking, no, I got this. I'm just hurt. I'm not injured. And it was actually my wife, Amy, that gave me a kick in the butt. And she said, no, I know you're tough, but when are you going to get this? And that made me think, like, wow, I've been saying I'm going to get this for 6 months now. And went and talked to somebody, and that's all it took. I think we as veterans also need to be easier on ourselves. We went through these experiences in combat, and we can't expect to just come back and step right into a normal life. We're going to spend a lifetime processing experiences that take a lifetime to process. You hear of people getting in car accidents or being in a plane crash or something terrible happening, and they spend their whole life living with those things and working through them. And so we can't expect to just be magically better, but it also doesn't mean that we're broken. You may go talk to somebody and you're just going to find out, that might be what you need to find out, that, oh yeah, you're not broken. What you've went through is what you're feeling is a very natural reaction to some very unnatural experiences. And Home Base is just a remarkable organization. I had the opportunity 2 years ago to first get involved with them, and their approach from the get-go just kind of showed me that they understand veterans and what they're going through, and it was just that taught me a lot about the organization. It was Roger Knight. He's here tonight. It's good to see you, Roger. And he reached out to me, and it wasn't a direct ask. He's a pretty smooth guy. And he invited me down, and my wife and I, Amy, we got to go down and we got to tour. At that point, it was just the regional clinic and learn about the work that they're doing. And I got to come and speak at the event and see what they do there. And then I've just watched them. And Jack's got his hook in me, and so has the rest of the organization, and been able to watch them grow. And to see them so singularly focused on their core competencies and not stray from that, but just look from beyond taking care of the veterans that we have here in New England to all over the country. I don't know if you understand how big of a deal that is for those of us that have served on active duty, because all my best friends, all my brothers live in Ohio and Texas and all these places that aren't New England for whatever God knows reason. But they can come here. They can come here now, and I push it hard on them, right? I get to see so many organizations, and Home Base really is the tip of the spear. It is a special organization. And still, there's challenges with that. Regardless of how special they are, I still have to pressure my brothers to try and get there. God, we are a stubborn group. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. And I want to hold those guys' heads in a tub for about 5 minutes till they stop moving, and then bring them back and tell them they're going. It's tough, but Home Base gets it. They do. And I think we're going to get there. And in large part, we got great leaders here in the area. Governor Baker, Mayor Walsh, the Red Sox Foundation, Mass General, all the community, the citizens. This is a team effort. Just like what got Kylan out on that day was not anything that any one individual did. It was a group of people coming together to take care of one another. The invisible wounds of war do not define who we are, what we do, or where we're going. Thank you.
Home Base is entirely philanthropically funded. Right now and through 10 o'clock tonight, staffers are standing by to accept your donation to help support this program. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. What better way to say thank you for your service on Veterans Day? There are several ways you can contribute. You can call the phone bank toll-free 866-615-8387. You can text to give by texting veterans to 91999, upper lowercase texting, it doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. Homebase feels that one of the best ways we can ensure that no veteran suffering from invisible wounds is left behind is by educating community clinicians. And with me now I have Dr. Louis Chow. He's the Associate Director of Education at Homebase. Louis, why is it so important to educate these community clinicians?
Well, Randy, as much as we would love to be able to see every veteran at home base, we recognize that that's not possible. In fact, most of our veterans are getting their care, if not within the VA, then in a community setting. So we want to make sure that when the clinician is there and a service member walks into their office, that they are prepared and equipped to work with the service member and their families.
And how do you do this, educating these community clinicians across the country?
Well, what we did is we created some online training videos, and they can be accessed on Homebase Training Institute's website. We have over 30 topics that have our leading experts that will talk about things like post-traumatic stress disorder, military families, traumatic brain injuries, and we have them available for free, on demand, so that, again, these service members will get the care that they need wherever they live.
And I know this year, in addition to these healthcare professionals, you've been working specifically with first responders, police and fire and EMTs to educate them.
As much as we would love for our service members to get treatment early, many of them aren't, and so as a result they may find themselves in a crisis where they're meeting with a first responder. So what we would like to do is actually help these first responders be able to usher the service members into care. And so with the Attorney General's office, we got some support to actually go into the different first responder communities and to tailor some training so that they're better equipped then to be able to identify and assist people who have invisible wounds of war into the care that they need.
Thanks for joining us, Dr. Chow. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about the importance of educating first responders and that grant that you mentioned. Let's take a look.
Already nationally recognized for their unique approach to healing the invisible wounds of war, Homebase has launched a new initiative designed to educate and train first responders to identify and care for post-9/11 veterans.
Clearly one of the most important issues in getting people the treatment they need for these invisible wounds of war is to identify those individuals and not let them slip through the cracks.
The trainings, titled Serving Those Who Have Served, Practical Approaches to Addressing the Invisible Wounds of War in Post-9/11 Service Members and Veterans, consist of a series of videos featuring local veterans who share their experiences regarding the challenges they faced resulting from their invisible wounds.
I was never scared when I thought I was going to die on the operating table, but I said the scariest moment of my entire deployment was coming home.
It's not to be forgotten that it is those moments in time that are opportunities to really make a difference. We heard sometimes people feeling, well, I'll never learn how to treat post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. I won't have the opportunity to make a difference, but you do have an opportunity to make a difference.
I wasn't even thinking straight. And I said, you know what, today's the day. I'm not gonna live anymore.
Made possible through a $1 million grant from the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, the trainings are available online, on demand. They each run under an hour and are accessible to all who could benefit from learning to recognize the signs of post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, and substance abuse. The trainings also help first responders identify suicide risk and understand how military culture impacts care.
Now more than ever, we need to make sure that our first responders, our nurses and allied health professionals who are on the front lines day in and day out, working with veterans and military families, are able to best recognize the signs of these issues and then help folks overcome these barriers to accessing care. And
this is what I love about Mass General Hospital and the Home Base program, that we are addressing these challenges early on.
The motto at Home Base is, their mission is complete. Ours has just begun. These first responder trainings expand Home Base's existing educational programming that has already reached more than 45,000 clinicians, educators, and community members nationwide.
These trainings were a success and a step towards the ultimate goal, which is being able to connect veterans and military families with the care that they need. But it's also enabled Home Base to directly connect with our first responders. In fact, after learning about Home Base and the services Home Base provides, police departments all across the state of Massachusetts joined up to contribute to this cause. The departments on your screen right now have signed up for a No Shave November. Police officers are usually clean-shaven, but for No Shave November, participants can let their facial hair grow wild and free. They must be clean-shaven beginning November 1st and not shave again until November 30th. Each participant promises a donation, and at the end of the month, the money is donated to Home Base.
It opens dialogue. People don't typically talk about it. They say, hey, what's going on? What's with all the beards? And we say, well, this is exactly why we're doing it, and we're doing it for the Home Base program, and this is what they do. They help veterans with PTSD and TBI.
Kurt Power, who you just heard from, spearheaded No Shave November. Kurt was also this year's featured speaker at the Run to Home Base presented by New Balance. The race is the signature fundraising event for Home Base. It's a fun day, full of meaning, and one folks look forward to every year. Take a look.
Right here at Fenway, let's have some noise, my friends. Get it out. Yeah!
One of the great days all year that we have at Fenway Park is the Run to Home Base.
My name is Tom Caron from the New England Sports Network. I'm the host of Red Sox Baseball on the network, and welcome to the 2016 Run to Home Base presented by New Balance.
Every summer, the folks at Fenway open their doors for the Run to Home Base. This isn't your standard charity run. This is an experience, a way to support the men and women who have put their lives on the line for our country.
This day is one of the most enlivening, healing experiences.
Yeah, this is my 7th year. Their father's in the military. Just to do something while he's over there, well, start it out, and just to thank him and help the guys over there.
I did it this year again because last year was really meaningful to me. I'm a teacher, so I have a lot of students serving in various parts of the military. My father was a vet, and so they didn't have these sorts of services coming back.
The funds raised at this event benefit Home Base and the clinical care, wellness programs, education, and research that they provide. In 2016, folks raised more than $1.7 million and more than $15 million since the run first began back in 2009.
So we're the Quack Pack from Boston Duck Tours. We've been sponsors of the Run to Home Base for 6 years. We are a huge supporter of veterans. My heart breaks every day for what they do for us, and this is the one little thing that we can do one day of the year. It's such an easy decision for us to make.
Quack Pack! We are a bunch of friends from college. I ran this race a couple years ago, just on my own, and I was really humbled by the mission. I think it's awesome. I'm a psychologist. I understand the importance of PTSD and getting treatment for it. And after I ran the first race, I was like, we all got to do this.
We've been able to do it for the last 6 or 7 years or so. Always something we look forward to every year. Wonderful to come back and to hear the stories from the troops every year about how this has impacted them and their families. It's why it continues to grow and why it gets such a response.
There are stories told by combat vets like Kurt Power, who once struggled with his own invisible wounds. Post-treatment, he is now on to a new chapter in life, and he encourages others to follow his lead.
If I can convince just one person who needs help to listen to me and put their trust in the treatment at Home Base, this will all be worth it. I have been where you are, and I can honestly tell you, thanks to Home Base, I not only feel the best I've felt since the war, but the best I've felt in my entire life.
From the stage to the streets, more than 2,000 runners and walkers from 24 states take to Yawkey Way to start on a journey that takes them around the city of Boston, across the Charles and back to Fenway, returning home to a hero's welcome and finishing with folks crossing home plate.
I think really the thing that makes today the most special is the people. If you look at the outpouring of affection from the entire city.
Everyone is just so amazing, so supportive. It doesn't matter how hot it is, it doesn't matter how tired you are, how much your legs hurt.
I don't think half of us would have crossed home plate without the teamwork that went in. And like I said, we started off as strangers, but we're all here for the same cause.
It's so wonderful to see all the military out there, running with them, cheering them on, and obviously ending at home, being able to get everyone a fist bump and a congratulations and a big thank you.
A lot of people congratulated me and said, keep going, you got this. I've heard people complaining and then the complaining stops and I've looked over my shoulder and they're like,
join us. Register for the 8th annual Run to Home Base, presented by New Balance, June 24th at Fenway Park. Registration at runtohomebase.org. Their mission is complete. Ours has just begun.
Welcome back. I'm Randy Price. On behalf of Home Base, a Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital program focused on healing the invisible wounds of war for post 9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Over the past hour and a half, we've been showing you stories from former Home Base patients, men and women from New Hampshire and Massachusetts, all across the country, who have fought to keep us safe here at home. These folks are bravely sharing their stories in hopes of helping others find their way to care. At Home Base, we know that no one serves alone. Their loved ones must endure great sacrifice while their service members are deployed to combat zones and hot spots across the world. Far too many of these military families must also endure the pain of watching their hero return home, deeply affected by their service. So the sacrifice continues. For these reasons, there is Home Base.
I don't think any of us come back the same person. We are all changed by what we go through. Physical wounds have taken their toll, and we're still learning about the invisible ones, and I think those are probably the greater threat to my generation coming back because they're so misunderstood.
I numbed, I hid, I avoided, I ran. It was a revolving door of addictions.
I started having like 3 or 4 panic attacks a day. I'd try to maybe go to the supermarket and my chest would start getting tight and I just couldn't be around people.
Is this what's supposed to be happening? Is this normal? Does everybody do this when they come home? We didn't know.
I don't know what else to do. He's not talking. It was so hard to take care of myself, take care of my kids, and take care of him. I had nothing left.
Home Base, a Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital program, works to heal the invisible wounds of war for post 9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Invisible wounds such as post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, co-occurring substance use disorders, anxiety, depression, and other issues related to service. Home Base offers treatment in their Boston-based outpatient clinic, couples therapy, support groups, and education about the invisible wounds of war. They treat their patients holistically, offering wellness and fitness programs to promote overall health, free weekend activities to strengthen family bonds, and classes to strengthen the mind-body connection.
Mass General is the #1 psychiatric hospital in the world, and we're very proud of what we've done, but we're just on our way.
In early 2016, Home Base took a new step towards healing the invisible wounds, launching an intensive clinical program called the ICP. In this concentrated outpatient treatment program, patients receive nearly a year's worth of therapy in 2 weeks' time.
We've tripled the size of this program over the past 3 years, and now it is transitioned to a National Center of Excellence that can see veterans and actively serving members from anywhere in the country.
Over the 2 weeks, patients engage in individual and group therapy, yoga and Tai Chi, art therapy, and they learn skills they can take back home and use to thrive in their everyday life.
The VA can only do so much. We require partners like Home Base to help us.
Leveraging local and national partnerships and building the expertise of world-class institutions such as Massachusetts General Hospital, Spaulding Rehabilitation Hospital, and Harvard Medical School, Home Base is changing the landscape of care for the 21st century veteran and military family.
I think people come to Home Base and immediately have an experience of, I'm understood, and these people really care about me.
Treatment works. That's the most powerful part of all of this. It's that we know that once we can get somebody in, that if they're willing to meet us halfway, we will do our part in making sure that they're able to reclaim their life.
It was one of the greatest things I've ever done. It really was. I can't thank everyone at Home Base enough. It was really a life-changing experience.
World-class clinical care, innovative wellness programs, education initiatives to train others to recognize, treat, and heal the invisible wounds, and cutting-edge research to develop new treatments. This is Home Base.
Since 2009, Home Base has served more than 11,000 veterans and family members with care and support. Time and time again, we hear that the number one thing that makes veterans feel comfortable calling Home Base is that on the first call, they're talking directly to another veteran. Home Base has a veteran outreach team, referred to as VOCs, who help facilitate the patient's journey through treatment. These are people who have been there, who get it. Let's meet the team.
Every veteran who reaches out to Home Base brings their own story, their own struggles, their own invisible wounds. They may not know exactly what they're looking for, but the first thing they're going to find at Home Base is someone who's walked in their boots.
I did Iraq in 2005, Afghanistan in 2010.
Both my deployments were to Helmand Province, Afghanistan.
S3 section in Kabul at Camp Phoenix with the Yankee Division.
I was in Afghanistan in 2004.
Iraq, 2004 to 2005, 2006 to 2007, and then I went to Afghanistan in 2010.
Came back for 2 to 3 months and then went straight back to Iraq.
Deployed with the 1st Marine Division to Iraq.
Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan.
These are the Veteran Outreach Coordinators, the VOCs. They may meet their fellow vets when those vets are at their worst, but the VOCs feel that they have the best job in the world.
I can't even think about it without smiling. I love what we do here. I love that we kind of lead the way and hey, this is how you can give back.
I'm very proud. I love what I do. I love my job. I love the team I work with.
To identify, motivate, and guide into care, veterans and families, struggling with the invisible wounds of war. Can do that.
There's a reason that VOCs are the first contact for vets. They approach their job with incredible enthusiasm, and they treat those seeking help with incredible understanding and compassion.
The stigma around mental health and just asking for care, that can oftentimes be the biggest barrier.
I think it takes tremendous courage for someone to raise their hand to get help.
And it's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, because you're more than willing to help somebody else.
It's okay. It's okay to come in and say, things aren't right. Things are right. I want to be whole again. Just show me the tools how I can do it.
Some of the world's best clinicians provide the therapy and education to help heal the invisible wounds. But Home Base's veteran-to-veteran connection is sometimes referred to as the secret sauce. And the recipe certainly works with this group.
we look out for each other. It's like a family more than a team, which is great. I like that.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I'm back with my platoon in the Marine Corps. Like, I get that same feeling.
This year, the VOCs added a new job to their duty roster. 24/7 liaisons to the intensive clinical program, a 2-week immersion where veterans from around the country are brought to Boston to receive critically needed therapy, as well as stress reduction and mindfulness training. As such, the VOCs are not just witnesses to, but participants in amazing transformations.
When they have the graduation, all the veterans get a chance to speak, and you really see like hope, come back into their eyes, and it's very validating and very rewarding for the staff because it's called the intensive clinical program, but it's not just intense for them, it's intense for us too.
They ring the bell upon their graduation ceremony, if you will, and it's just remarkable the shell that they uncover and they tear off. It's just so rewarding.
Still, for every vet that can now imagine a brighter future thanks to home base, there are thousands more who struggle in darkness. So if you're a VOC, what do you do? Throw up your hands or roll up your sleeves?
Oh, my team's awesome. I get the best team here. They're just phenomenal. And I'm very, very lucky because they have that military mindset that they treat everything like a mission. It's great. And they just get the job done.
A lot of people just go to their job and they just have a job. And there are those of us that get to leave at the end of every week realizing we made a difference.
This isn't just a job to me, it's a passion, and this is what I want to do with my life.
Our next patient profile is of Michael Brown of New Hampshire. Now, Michael is soft-spoken and remarkably unguarded, sharing his story. As a former Army colonel, he felt for a long time that as a leader, he shouldn't show emotion or weakness. As he says, though, it all became too much.
You don't achieve the rank of colonel by being a slacker. You don't get chosen to work with defense contractors on behalf of the military without the requisite skills. Mike Brown's career in the military was on an enviable track. His personal life was an entirely different matter.
I don't know why I was like that. I don't know how it got so bad. I do know that I was physically, mentally, and spiritually broken. I had no will to live. I had lost all sense of hope.
For a while, it was as though Mike was living two separate lives. As time went on, the uniform began to feel more like a costume.
I didn't want people to see behind the mask. I wanted to be as camouflaged as it could be, but in front of me, what I wanted you to perceive as a confident, courageous man.
That's the Mike Brown that Anne-Marie met at an outdoor concert in Hampton Beach. A good conversationalist, a single parent, just as she was, and a dog lover. He worked hard to make a good first impression.
Never talked about his deployments or anything like that, but would talk about current work.
And so I faked it with her in the sense that I wanted to get into a relationship, but I want you to see the front side of the mask only, because you wouldn't like the back side.
Looking back, of course, there were signs, more drinking, more belligerence. But sometimes we make excuses or believe the ones we're told.
He had been hospitalized, but he said he had been panic attacks. Later on, when things really escalated out of control, I found out that panic attack was actually a suicide attempt, and his landlord had called an ambulance.
But by that time, Anne-Marie was all in, making excuses of her own.
I'm called Household 6. I handled everything at home. Part of being Household 6, there's no problems at home. So everything had to stay contained in the house. I'm a very open, honest type person. Here I'm finding myself lying to people, ignoring situations, no longer associating with my friends because they can't find out what's going on in my house.
Mike went to rehab several times for his drinking. He did have a heart condition and was able to hide the reason for his absences. But the drinking always resumed, and the facade of normalcy wore thin and eventually collapsed. It was the loss of his dog that shattered the illusion, and Mike himself.
He was threatening to get the gun and shoot himself. And I said, "Are you serious?" I says, "Well, bad is life," because I didn't know what PTSD was. I wasn't over there. I didn't understand why he couldn't rationalize, "That's not you."
See, I held myself accountable for anything that went wrong. You know, there's some things I just couldn't control, even though I thought I could.
It's very common to misinterpret causality, so you are to blame for leaving your buddy behind, and it should have been you and not them.
Anne-Marie was desperate. She heard an ad on the radio for home base, and it hit home with her.
What they were saying on the radio was my life. And I called Mike at work and I said, "Look this up on the computer," because I did, and this is where you need to be.
Mike was eventually enrolled in the first cohort of the intensive clinical program. Yes, he wanted help, but he was skeptical.
I had a lot of doubts. You know, why home base? What magic recipe do they have? You know, the other choice you really had in my life was dead.
That is not an exaggeration, and unfortunately, it's not at all unusual. Suicide and suicidal thoughts are all too common.
I've lost more soldiers to suicide than I have in combat, and I don't want to lose another one. When you meet the parents of somebody who's been lost when they come home, there is no greater tragedy. They survived combat. They should be able to survive America.
The ICP was designed to give veterans the skills they need to survive reintegration, compressing nearly a year's worth of therapy, work on coping skills, and alternative methods to deal with post-traumatic stress into a comprehensive 2-week program.
They have a staff of super individuals with great spirits and compassion, where that trust was a key ingredient to opening up. Why was I like that?
Because home base understands that the only way to heal the veteran is to heal the family as well, Anne-Marie was an active participant in creating a new family portrait.
They would ask the soldiers, "Do you mind sharing this with your spouse?" And it was some of the artwork that of just masks, of the masks that we see, and then a behind-the-scenes mask. Home base allowed me to understand what PTSD was, why he was acting the way he was, how, when he's acting like this, can I help him?
Because you can come in these doors, no matter what your economical or social status is, and get the treatment you need, not just for a week or two, but for life.
And thanks to Michael and his wife for sharing their story. As you heard Brigadier General Jack Hammond say in that story, he has lost more soldiers from suicide than he did in combat. That's why programs such as Home Base are so important. By providing world-class clinical care, wellness programs, education, and research, Home Base is healing the invisible wounds of war. And it can only be done because of you watching at home. Home Base is entirely philanthropically funded. Right now and through 10 o'clock tonight, staffers are standing by to accept your donation to help support this program. Every donation counts. No amount is too small. What better way to say thank you for your service on Veterans Day? There's several ways you can contribute. Call the phone bank toll-free 866-615-8387. You can text to give by texting veterans to 91999, upper lowercase texting doesn't matter. And you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. As you know, Home Base is a partnership of the Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital. The organization is overseen by a 4-member board: Red Sox Chairman Tom Werner, MGH President Dr. Peter Slavin, Vice Chairman of the Fenway Sports Group David Ginsburg, and Jack Connors Jr., Chairman Emeritus of Hill Holiday and Partners Healthcare. These 4 men are pillars in the community and champions for Home Base. We sat down with Tom Werner and Jack Connors to hear why they stand so solidly behind this organization.
The 2007 World Series champs were more than happy to interrupt spring training for a trip to the White House. They extended their D.C. visit with a stop at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where they shook a bunch of hands and shared numerous heartfelt thanks with service members recovering from serious wounds and surgeries. What the team saw made a huge impression, but it was what Red Sox Chairman Tom Werner heard that would have the most impact.
This doctor said that as much as 40 to 50% of the soldiers coming back had either a traumatic brain injury or PTSD. And I was just so surprised about the amount of pain that was occurring.
Werner began to plan how he might build his next team, a team that would champion treatment for veterans and their families. And he knew exactly where to start.
Here we are in Boston, one of the great intellectual centers of America. It has the world's #1 hospital, Mass General Hospital. We needed a team of great doctors and clinicians, and we needed other business leaders like Jack Connors to step forward.
It's really not rocket science. It's all about the golden rule, taking care of other people.
What grew out of that visit to Walter Reed was Home Base, a framework of remarkably effective treatment programs that are healing veterans and their families who struggle with the invisible wounds of war. It's an achievement Tom Werner is proud of, but not satisfied with.
We've now dealt with, I believe, more than 11,000 veterans and their families. We have moved from being a regional program to help people in New England to becoming a national program, and we're just beginning.
Which is why Home Base launched the Campaign for the 21st Century Veteran and Family, a $50 million capital campaign to ensure that Home Base will build its capacity, its services, and a permanent home.
This is the fiscally responsible thing to do.
There's really always been a sense of urgency when it comes to helping these veterans. It's almost like that line from Hemingway, the sea is so large and my boat is so small.
Achieving the goal of $50 million would allow Home Base to build more and bigger boats, lifeboats, the world's biggest rescue mission.
What we're giving them is, I would call it love. Others in the profession would call it access to the very best care. That shouldn't be that rare.
We have put these people in harm's way, and we have a responsibility to do whatever we can when they come back to integrate them into society, and we should be doing more. It's not just the right thing to do, it's our obligation.
You've been watching Home Base's Veterans Day special. Home Base is a partnership of the Red Sox Foundation and Massachusetts General Hospital. The organization is changing the landscape of care for the 21st century warrior and military family. Home Base and the clinical care, wellness programs, education, and research they provide is supported by people like you. As a veteran myself, I hope you'll join me in this mission to heal the invisible wounds of war. Home Base staffers will continue to man the phone bank until 10 o'clock tonight, and you can call in a gift toll-free 866-615-8387, or you can text to give by texting veterans to 91999, upper lowercase texting, it doesn't matter, and you can contribute online at homebase.org/give. It is Veterans Day. 1 in 3 veterans return from deployment with an invisible wound of war. This is your chance to do something for these men and women who have fought and secured our freedom. You know, if every person watching gave $10, imagine the effect that that would have. Imagine the direct impact on the lives of these warriors and their families. As they say at Home Base, their mission is complete, but ours has just begun. I'm Randy Price, coming to you from Fenway. On behalf of Home Base, Thank you.